increase your marketability, visibility, credibility, and likability to attract more opportunities this year? Wondering how to position yourself for success? Want to pick my brain today? This episode, Ask Me Anything, is for you. In the next hour, I'll be answering as many questions as I can and share some client success stories along the way to inspire you. So, hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate live show. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. Type in the comment to let me know where you're tuning in and from as well. Okay, so some housekeeping here today. So today you can ask me any questions. Feel free to type in some questions. We do have some people already submitted some questions as well. Feel free to click like and comment anytime and network with others as well. The replay will be available. I'll be adding timestamps later on onto my YouTube channel. And if we're not connected yet, make sure to follow me on my LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram there. Okay. All right, so I'm your host, Diana YK Chan, founder of My Marketability, where I help you stand out, get hired, and earn more. So some quick updates here. I'm going to be bringing on a guest speaker later on here, but some quick updates here is that I will be hosting a Amplifying Asian Voices series May 12th and May 19th. Make sure to mark your calendar. It's from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So a 2.5-hour live stream where I'll be interviewing 10 speakers, 10 fireside chats, and I'll be sharing, talking about their cultural upbringing, the impact it has on them, their bit about their career journey, and a topic of interest. So this is something I'll be planning in the next month. So please help me to share this and support this as well. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me just go quick. Also, today's agenda for those who are here, welcome. Is we're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, personal branding, networking, LinkedIn, and interviews. Let's a little bit about that. Some questions that submitted through there. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring my guest speaker, who is just impromptu. Who just came out last night, Almeera Jiwa Pratt, who's the content manager at LinkedIn, also an actor and speaker, to have a quick chat with some questions that she has for me. So let me just bring her on.
Hi.
Hi,
Almeera. Hi, Diana. Hi, everyone tuning in. I see there's a ton of people in here already. It's so good to see so many people here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining last minute. I know we met. It was such a last minute thing. And I love how we got connected recently. Do you want to share the story how we got connected recently?
I just reached out to you, I think.
You reached out to me. Yeah, well, I think we had a few text messages like through like LinkedIn, and then you mentioned that you've been following some of my work as well, and then you reached out to me, and then we got connected. And I want to tell this story because I'm going to be answering some questions later on the power of networking, relationship building, and LinkedIn as well. So I'm so glad we're connected, and I'm going to be having you as one of my guest speakers next month on the show for the Amplifying Asian Voices series.
Yes, and thank you so much for that invitation. I'm looking forward to sharing my story and hearing all of the other stories from your guests. And I feel like, now that I'm thinking about it, I think we've been connected over the past 4 years since I started at LinkedIn, and just seeing your content and being consistent and just really driving valuable, thoughtful conversations and sharing amazing tips. And so I think that's kind of what prompted me to reach out just over the past few months. Can I share what we're working on?
Yeah, we got some news. Drum roll.
I'm so excited that I've gotten to collaborate with Diana over the past several months. Well, really kind of weeks. It was a really fast project, but I've been leading our nano learning strategy at LinkedIn Learning. So that's our short form learning content. And Diana is one of our new instructors, and she is going to have a course coming out. It's going to be a super fast, value-packed course on presenting and speaking with confidence. So I'm super excited for that to come out towards the end of May. So look out for that. And the course is free.
Yes, it's free. And I'm super excited. I have to tell you guys, this was totally stepping out of my comfort zone because I'm so used to doing long form videos. And these one were like less than 2 minutes long per video. So it was a great opportunity for me to stretch out of my comfort zone. So thank you. I can't wait for it to come out.
Yes,
awesome.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into your first question. You had a question for me on how to stay focused and productive as a working parent. Do you have some context about this? You want to give me some context here?
Yeah, I mean, we're both parents of little kids, and we've talked a lot about this. And I feel like, I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're doing all these amazing things, and sort of working in different areas. You're a content creator, you're coaching, you're doing workshops, you're creating presentations and nano learning courses, all of these things. And I'm curious, with your busy life, how do you stay focused and productive? And especially, I think, is your office in your home as
Yes,
well?
my office is in my home. My office is in my home. That's such a great question there. So for me, I'm really big on routines and schedule. As I know, like with kids, they thrive on a routine as well. So I really adopted that into my own work schedule. So I have my clear, like Monday, Wednesdays are like my coaching days. Tuesdays are like my consultation, sales call days or networking days. Thursday, Fridays are either like my live stream days or my behind the scenes business development days there. So I have a very clear schedule mapped out, and every 3 months, I optimize it. I will check in to see what has worked, what hasn't. So just to give you an idea, for example, I used to start my meetings at 10:30 a.m. And it's because I wanted the first hour and a half to myself to just to think and plan. And then since my older one started grade one last year in September, his time to get off school is 3 p.m. 3 p.m. here. So that means that I need to finish work earlier to pick him up. And so I just moved up my schedule as well to start my meetings earlier at 9:30 there. So just optimizing that schedule is really key. The other thing I really pay attention to is not just about managing time, but it's managing energy. It's really
Mm.
managing energy. So I pay attention when I'm at the most optimal energy. And I really listen to my body as well. If I'm really feeling tired, I will just go out for a walk, like to just really get some fresh air. I remember just seeing your post about just taking a moment to breathe as well. That's really important for me there. I'm really big on self care. I know I probably don't talk enough about this, but every month I go for a facial, I go for a massage, I go for my
Amazing.
manicure, and I just feel good. That's
I
like my
love
happy
it.
place. It's my happy place there. And that's how I stay focused and productive. I also block my calendar. The other thing I'm really big on is setting boundaries is I do have a maximum number of meetings that I'll take per
Mhm.
day because I know if I have more than 6 coaching calls per day, my energy is going to be depleted. So I block that. I also block a lunchtime hour as well to make sure whether I eat lunch or not, I still take that break there.
That's so good. And do you keep any of your apps or emails on your phone?
I do. I feel like I can do a better job on that and turning off notifications. That's
Yeah, that's
something I
my
do
weak
want to
spot.
get better. That's such a great question. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
my weak spot. And then you talked about energy and just managing your energy. And with all of the different projects that you do, how do you prioritize or rank them? I imagine some of them are going to take more energy, some of them are going to take less. But what is it for you that really indicates what you're going to take on and when?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's your next question that you had here is how to prioritize rank opportunities. I love this question. So for me, I always look at number one, first of all, is my clients are my priority because they're paying me. So that's my number one that I prioritize there. Number two, for any other speaking opportunities, training opportunities, collaboration opportunities, the way I look at it is am I serving my ideal audience? Am I serving my ideal audience? Are these people going to be there? That's one of my criteria that I look at there. So that's really key. So I'll give you an idea. Like recently, I was on the podcast, "How to Be Awesome at Your Job" podcasts, and I've been listening to them for years. And they reached out to me to be a guest speaker, and I said yes immediately because I knew that was my ideal audience. And after that podcast launched, I've been just meeting a lot of people on LinkedIn, connecting with me, and eventually becoming my clients as well. So that's another criteria I look at. The other is I do look at from a branding standpoint because I'm really big on personal branding. Is does this person's brand align with my brand as well? That's a really big one in terms of from a, I guess, looking for values alignment, what our purposes, what our goals are. That's something I do look for as well. And then these days, because I do get asked for a lot for speaking opportunities. I've been speaking since 2011. And I have to tell you, I've done a lot of pro bono talks since I started there. And so one of my criteria these days, if to do pro bono talks, are either they have to either have either a big audience or is my ideal audience there, and that is also maybe something that's in the public as well to help with also generating the awareness there.
Right. Yeah. I love those. Those are such actionable tips too. And the other thing is we're both Canadian. You
Yes.
said grade one. In the US, they say first grade, which I had to wrap my head around, but we're both Canadian. I'm in Atlanta now. But what about time zones? That's my last question, I promise. How do you work across time zones?
Ooh, great question. I mean, I do have clients in like UK, Singapore, Africa as well. For me, I know like I set my boundaries. Like I work from like the 9 o'clock till 5 p.m. in terms of client meetings. I don't do evening client meetings.
Okay.
So clients will also have to work around that. Like I say no to talks in the evening unless it's something like a big one there. That's something I really learned because it's really hard for me to juggle like when kids are at home in terms of the meetings there. So that's a good question there. Like I have clients actually in Singapore, 12-hour time zone difference. So they'll meet with me there 10 p.m., which is like 10 a.m. my time.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's great that you're able to still find a time to connect and it's not like 3 in the morning somebody's time. But
No, no, yeah, and I think this goes back to, right, like, when we have so much to juggle that, yes, we gotta say no to certain things, but also we gotta say, like, how it's like this is what I learned in coaching, is you got to coach or train the person to be aware of your parameters or your hours so that they know when to connect with you or meet with you as well.
yeah, yeah. And that's all about setting boundaries.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you before you
Okay.
go, because
Yeah.
you have a background in acting and producing. What's some of your best advice when it comes to really projecting your voice to be heard and be seen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, two things. So, my training is all based on body breath awareness. It's taught by Kristen Linklater. And so, I went to theater school. It was a 3 year conservatory program. We had, 45, an hour and 45 minutes a day of vocal training, voice training, using your body, learning how to breathe. So, everything I do, and I've coached executives at some of the top brands like Coca Cola, Nike, Publix, Chick fil A. And I do this and it gets awkward, but but I help them let go of their belly, because especially as women, we tend to, when we're presenting, we tend to kind of suck it all in. But what happens is you're actually creating shallow breathing. So you're making your breath shallow and you're actually losing about a liter of oxygen from your brain. And so you want to be sharper. You want to come across more authentic. You want to have the vocal energy and stamina. And so, in order to do that, you need to be breathing fully. So, the first big thing is just let go of your belly, wear something comfortable so you can do it. Get that full breath to be able to deliver your message. And then the second one, to really project. So, as an actor, I've worked a lot in theater. My training is in theater. I've performed in massive theaters with no mics, and the trick here really is, again, using your breath to create space. But we have resonators all over our body, and so if I'm whether I'm speaking in a small stage or a large stage, getting those resonators going. So humming and massaging all of your sinuses in your face, in your body, in your back body, just breathing and humming and moving around creates space. And what happens is that vibration, so all of these little pockets that we have in our body, once you create space and move that, like just like create air and space in there, you're actually creating vibration, and that vibration is what's going to help you project, versus you like really trying to push your voice, because you can't sustain it. You'll lose your
Ah,
voice. So relying on your body and your breath to be able to keep that stamina and really project.
yeah. So do you do some of these exercises before you go for like a meeting or big talk? Is that something you
Absolutely.
do? You
Yeah,
do?
absolutely. I mean, if I
Yeah.
don't have a ton of time, and I've gotten really good at this, I'll just make sure, like, I'll rub my back for a quick second and I'll hum, and I'll make sure that I can feel the humming in my back. And if I can feel the humming in my back, then I know that I'm like open and I've got my breath going.
Oh,
Sometimes, like, if I drink too much coffee or I'm
yeah.
cold or something or I'm nervous, I tense up so much, and that tensing just constricts all the space and all the breath. And so you just have to create space, think about having a ton
Space.
of vibration from your back. I used to do this exercise. So I would do this exercise, and I'd tell my sister, stand behind me like 5 feet and tell me if you can feel my vibration. Like, I want that. Because when I'm on stage, if I'm facing the back, I want people to still hear
Feel.
me, even though,
Yeah.
yeah, see my mouth. So, and especially if you're, doing a workshop facilitation or something, you're walking around, you want people in the whole room to be able to feel feel your vibration.
Oh, I love this comment. This is such great advice to learn about that. And this is sort of specific, really great advice for those who are going for interviews as well. Like,
Yeah.
they tense up and have nerves. So how to really open up and feel that vibration. And I'm big on also just movement as well, movement in body, stretching, even just saying these affirmations, adding that to it, just to really amplify that energy there.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
My pleasure. This was great. I know I had to ask you because I listened to your recording, your voice. I'm like, I got to ask her some advice on that there.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of voiceover work. I've been working on my Minnie Mouse voice, which is like a whole other part of the head. But yeah.
Do you
Well,
want to
thank
do a
you
little demo before you go?
of Minnie Mouse. Oh my gosh. Okay, I look really weird when I do this. Well, hello everybody. I'm so delighted to be here today. Oh, Mickey's going to be so happy I got to see you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks, Diana.
Oh my goodness. We got to
Work
get
in
some
progress.
clapping emojis there. That was so good. You just made my day. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amira. Thank you
You
so
made my
much.
day. Thank you so much. Have an
Amazing.
awesome
I
day.
love this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, have a great rest of the weekend. We'll talk soon.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Oh my goodness, wasn't that amazing? It was just impromptu, casual chat that I got to chat with Amira here, and I love how she just did a quick demo of her Minnie Mouse voice. Isn't that amazing? Look at there. Someone said, "Oh my god!" Yes, my daughter just ran over. Oh my goodness, see, they recognize the Minnie Mouse voice. Amazing. Yes. All right, Sona's going to be coming on board another 20 minutes here. So next is I'm going to talk a few other things here. There were some questions that were submitted. Feel free to submit your questions as well. So let me take a look. What's another question that came in here? I'm going to share a couple stories first because it's going to tie into this question, which is around changing careers and how to reposition yourself. So I want to share a story earlier this year that I had the pleasure to support a client who I've known for a long, long time. She pivoted her career she changed her career from being a sales director for over 11 years to becoming a sales trainer. So teaching salespeople how to be great in what they do. And it's literally within 6 weeks of working together. And she's earning more. So what's amazing about this, I want to share some lessons, is that she hasn't gone for an interview at all, but she's been networking a lot because of her career in sales, and hence why she was able to make this pivot so quickly within 6 weeks. Even when we started, we did a lot of clarity work, and I really had to challenge her, do you still want to be in a sales role, or do you want to go into a role that's like coaching, training? What is that? And she wasn't sure she had what it takes to make that pivot. So we had to really get clear on her core values, her strengths, and her interests, and really look at what are the similarities. There's a lot of similarities in sales, right? And she was able to reach out to people that she actually partnered with, which is some of her partners and vendors, to have these conversations to uncover this opportunity. So literally, as she was networking, she was also creating her resume and LinkedIn and elevator pitch on the go there. Typically, I really recommend, and when you're looking to make this kind of big career change, it could take 4 months, 6 months, or sometimes even a year, is to really take the time. But this client is just abundance of energy, a go-getter, and has such a great network to make that change. So it is totally possible. For those who are asking me how to make that change, a big part is you're going to have to really tap into your network there. Another story is another client who made another big career change as well, from investment sales to business analysis at a top bank. Now, this client took a bit longer. It was almost about 2 years it took him to make that change because he decided to quit his job right before the pandemic in 2020 when he was in investment sales. And he wasn't sure what's next, but he knew sales was not what he wanted to be in. It was either becoming a product manager or a business analyst. So during the pandemic, he took a lot of these courses to get certificate, a certified Scrum Master, and a certificate as a business analyst as well, and met a lot of people along the way. And throughout that journey as well, they got a new home, had a new baby as well. So a lot of things were occupied as well. So he recently landed, and he was so happy to make that change. And one of the big lessons that he talked about was really the importance of relationship building, right? Being patient as well, even though it seemed long, having that great attitude, but also really staying in touch with the people who he met along the way through all this continuing education there. So it is certainly possible. I want to show these contrast examples. Like one was really quick and then the other took some time as well. And one of the key message I always talk about is don't compare someone's timeline. Don't compare your timeline to someone else's timeline. Everyone is different there. Okay, so the question I had here that was submitted was how to rewrite your resume to highlight transferable skills if pivoting careers. Right, so that's the question, how to essentially reposition yourself here. And so first things first is getting clear on what you're targeting. I think that's really the first step is are you clear on the ideal target role that what you want? And the second step is, are you clear in terms of the hiring requirements? Like what is the employer looking for? What are those keywords? What's that common language that they use? So we need to get the understanding of what's that lingo that you want to use so that in order to rewrite your resume. So you want to essentially map that out there. Okay. And a third piece when it comes to rewriting resume, here are just some quick tips for those who are looking to pivot. One is you can have like a branding statement section in terms of what you bring to the table, right? It's a very small paragraph, just like 2 to 3 lines of your unique value proposition there. The second is you can have a skills competency table, like a 3x3 or 3x4 of your skill competencies that also align with where you are going there. So that way you're really highlighting these transferable skills. And then in your experience section, here's some things you can do, because I've done this with some even executive level clients as well, is to before you highlight your bullets of your accomplishments and results, what you can do is like have a little topic line of the type of competency you're trying to highlight. So for example, it could be leadership highlights, innovation highlights, project management highlights. So whatever that core competency or skill that you're trying to highlight, you just label it and bold it and then list those bullet points that is trying to support this topic that you're trying to do there. So those are some quick tips that you can do when it comes to rewriting your resume. One of the common mistakes that I see, because I have seen a lot of resumes as a former recruiter, when I used to work at Google and as an agency recruiter, and just over the years as a coach, I can tell you from my experience, over 90% of the resumes I see tend to focus on more just the responsibilities of what they've done, but not what they've done well. So this is where it's really lacking that tangible accomplishments, the results, the awards and promotions. That's what's going to make you stand out and differentiate as top talent. So if there's any advice that I can give is you're really making sure that you do analysis of like, what are you proud of? What are some of those proud accomplishments or contributions that you've done? If you're not sure, ask your colleagues or ask your boss as well to track all these things to update your resume. Okay. So don't write your resume as if it's like a responsibilities document. You want to write your resume as a marketing document, an accomplishments document. And that's really going to change your thinking when you put on that marketing hat on and think of those sound bites that you want to highlight there. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, whoever submitted this question there. All right. Let me see. Another question that came in here. I'm going to discuss the networking LinkedIn one with Sonhal later on. Let me see here. Okay. Okay, there's one around personal branding. If anyone else has questions, feel free to submit as well. So a question here was around, what's your best advice on personal branding and networking at work? And so the context here, the person provided is feeling, you want to feel more appreciated and get noticed by management and stakeholders because they're feeling they're undervalued or unappreciated currently. Right, so that's really the context around that. So I would say a few things. Number one is really knowing your value, what you bring to the table. So I'll give you a context of this. I recently had a client as well who does amazing work, but feeling really frustrated, underappreciated. And it really impacted her in terms of her own mental health and how she shows up as well. And and her confidence. So I think that's really the first step is don't let other people's criticisms or judgments influence or impact the way you show up. And this is why the confidence comes in of really knowing your value, identifying the value is really key. So when you know that value, then you want to start articulating your value, conveying your value. So the question here is like, are you actually talking about, your wins, your successes, what you're bringing to the table there? So that's another key thing here from a personal branding standpoint is showcasing your value there. From a networking standpoint, this is a great question. I think at work, especially for those if you're working from home online, making time for having coffee chats or side conversations, I think is really key, right? So it's not just about talking about business, but really getting to know people on a personal level of how they're doing, how they're feeling as well, will help you build stronger trust and rapport and a better working relationship there. So I know that we're busy, right? We're all like, we have lots on the go as well, but making time for just these like 20-minute chats or 50-minute chats as well to build those relationships is really important there. Okay. Especially for those, if you're looking to make an internal move. I have a client right now who's been with the same company in tech for over 6 years now, and she just got back from mat leave. And one of the things that she's been doing really is having informational chats, right? So it's not necessarily job searching per se, even though it is, but it's really checking in, like, how is the business doing? What are their needs? What are the challenges? And be able to also share a bit about where she's at in her career, what she wants as well. And through that, by sharing essentially your wish list of what you want more of in terms of knowledge, skills, and experience that you want to gain, the challenges or problems that you want to solve, it helped also manifesting a new opportunity as well. And so that's just key. Like, you want to ask yourself is like, beyond talking about your day-to-day responsibilities, are you making time to talk about your aspirations and goals there? The other thing around networking I like to always talk about is about give, give, give. So adding value, helping each other out. This is really the power of networking, of relationship building, is really understand what people need help with and really try to help them out to make their day there. Okay, good question. Okay, let me see. Any questions coming in here? All right, someone asked here, what would you recommend as adequate amount of time to follow up with a recruiter or HRBP regarding a role that you apply to? I've emailed HRBP over a week ago and haven't heard back. So usually I would say my rule of thumb is around that 10-day mark, 10-day mark to follow up. If they haven't followed up, if they haven't responded back, follow up again as well. Sometimes here's the thing, right? We don't know what's happening behind the scenes, right? And I've seen this a lot with even some of my own clients where they thought they were getting an offer, or they're expecting an offer, and they had to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or a month to get the offer. And sometimes it could be because organizational changes, maybe some layoffs happening, maybe they are reconsidering the role as well. So being patient is key. And maybe you can also ask, is there something happening internally that I need to be aware of to wait? Like, I had another client who was expecting an offer. All of a sudden they had a hiring freeze, and totally out of the hiring manager's control of what they can do. But really keeping that relationship warm is key here, right? So if you're not hearing back, try to maybe either pick up the phone or maybe see if you can connect with someone else, like the hiring manager, just to check in. But you don't want to be checking like every single day there. I think there's a lot of things that sometimes we just have to be patient and wait there as well. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, thanks for the shout out. Is it Batty there? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay. Let me see what other questions that came in as well. Feel free to ask me any other questions for those who are live. I see some of you here on LinkedIn and some of you here on YouTube here. I'm going to share another story here. This is another client I had the pleasure to work with, and who aced her panel and case interview, like a series of intense interviews where she got promoted internally from an AVP to a VP of finance role at a university. And to give you some context, I don't know if any of you have gone through interviews in academic settings. They're one of the most intense process I've seen. Like, it's a really long process typically. Like in this case, it was over 4 months because they engage in a search firm, getting really clear on the requirements as well. And they have a series of panel interviews. So imagine meeting a panel of very senior people, like 8 to 10 people at a time. You got to go through multiple rounds of that. and you got to go through a case interview to pitch yourself as well there. So you can imagine there's so much to prepare for. And so I'm really proud of this client, and I have to give some context. This is someone who I actually met back when I was in university. I was this person's math tutor back in the day. I was her math tutor back in the day when she was still in high school. So it was such an honor, a full circle moment for me, for her to come back to help her reach her next level role here. And so what we specifically worked on were two things. One was the resume, the application, and the second was the interview prep and practice. And her resume was quite long. So we really had to turn it from a history document to a marketing document by really making it more punchy, accomplishments oriented, having numbers, and really tailoring to the role. So even though it's similar function from AVP to VP, a big part what we really want to highlight was around strategy, leadership, change management, collaboration. So those are things we really want to highlight in her application process there. And we really, as we went further in the interview process, we really had to analyze and really understand the challenges in this academic setting. Like, what are some of those challenges there? And one of them was that there has been a lot of new leaders coming in, a lot of like interim leaders coming in there. And so we had to really think about, well, how do we address in terms of showcasing that stability, in terms of being able to bring change, like transformational change happen as well, and come up with specific examples there. And sometimes our challenges, like, and some of you, I got a question yesterday when I was doing a talk for the UN on interviews as well, is that how do I answer some questions around conflict or challenges, especially if that person is in the interview panel as well? Has anyone faced this before, that you are interviewing with someone where you want to share a story, let's say a conflict situation, a challenge situation about the person that you're meeting? Okay. So the way I coach this is that instead of focusing on the person, focus on the situation, the issue at hand, right? So it's less about trying to attack that individual, but more so on talking about the overall situation at hand and how you will go about handling it there. Right? Because at the end of the day, people will probably be able to read in between the lines as well, will understand that. So it's more important for you how you showcase respect, show grace, and how you handle like difficult moments as well there. Okay, so that's a story that I wanted to share for those who may sometimes face challenge in going through interviews there. And for those who are here, tell me a little bit, what are some challenges that you face when it comes to interview prep and going through interviews there? Okay, Stephen just shared that you interviewed in an academic setting as a through a contracted vendor. It was 2 rounds. Okay, so was it easy? Did you find it easy for you, or was it challenging there? I find some of the more senior level roles can tend to be longer. I once had a client who was interviewing for a librarian role. Her interview was the entire day from like 8 to 5 with like a lunch break in between. She had to meet from the dean, the librarians, the interview panel, going for like a virtual tour as well. It was really, really intense. It was like multiple rounds of interviews. She had to even prepare a presentation of her ideas as well. So it is quite stressful there. All right, so let me see. Another audience question here is, how long should one take to review an offer before submitting a counter offer? That's a good question there. So essentially, as you want to negotiate, usually I think it's good to take like 24 to 48 hours to review. You don't want to wait too long, right? Because you want to still signal interest and you want to signal that you have put some thought. So usually I recommend if someone gets an offer, even like on a Friday, there is to take that weekend to review it, right? Because then you can say that you have reviewed it with your family as well, consider all factors, and like the following Monday to ask for like to counter offer or ask for what you want there. Okay, so usually a couple days is good there. I mean, I've seen some instances where people. One thing I always talk about is that even though if it's a good offer that they give you on the spot, is you don't necessarily want to accept on the spot. You always want to take the time to review all the details, to think about it, to see whether there's anything else you want to negotiate. That is really, really key. Taking time to consider, to think about things there. Okay. Okay. So let me see. Another question here is how much time should you spend sending out resumes on Indeed or LinkedIn jobs? Not having much luck with that. It takes a lot of time, feels like a waste of time. I hear you. So I don't know if I can give you like a number of how much time you should spend. I think it really depends. But one thing I can tell you is that, is applying jobs online your only strategy? If it is, then it's not enough, right? If you're not getting much luck to it, then one, is it the resume here? Or is it the LinkedIn profile? Do we need to make tweaks on that? Are you applying the right kind of type of roles? But really, I want to make sure that you also have time, you're spending time on doing outreaches, which is really the networking, talking to people, informational interviews there. So if you're spending 100% of your time of applying online, that's not the most effective use of your time there. I recommend more around that 20%, 30% of the time of your activities, and the other like time like spending like networking and doing researching and practicing your messages there. Okay. So we have a question here on how to make ATS proof CV there. So at the end of the day, I mean, recruiters still like review the resumes in the ATS. Like I used to recruit at Google, and I would see these resumes coming in, and it would give me like a number of like percentage of match there. So I mean, my best simple advice to it is really looking at to make it match as close as possible in terms of having those keywords. Having like a keywords that match that is really the key thing there, right? So for those who are looking to pivot, because I work with a lot of clients who pivot there into whether if you're pivoting to a different industry but similar functional area of role, I feel like that is something easier to do because you still have the keywords in that functional area there. But if you're pivoting into a different functional area, let's just say from like sales to marketing, or in the case of my client, sales to business analysts, you want to really also be able to make sure that you highlight more of those analytical capabilities as well. Or maybe even sometimes explaining your title, that's a stronger match. Like I once had a client who wanted to transition from being a campaign manager to being a product manager. So sorry, he was a campaign manager for politicians, actually. So that's what he did. And he wanted to become a product manager in tech there. So we had to just do a few things in terms of just tweaking the title of it or explanation to explain what that is equivalent to as well. So it's clear into another industry as well there. Okay. Okay, let me see. Any other questions coming in here? Okay. I'm going to share another story. I want to share another success story here. Really proud, actually, someone who's my friend and client who recently landed a next level manager role in philanthropy at a top bank. She basically first interview that she aced and have not gone for an interview in over 7 years. And she's been on mat leave for the last 2 years. So I'm super proud of this. And a few things that we did, when you think about it, like for those of you who haven't interviewed, like for those who are here, how many years has it been since your last interview? Type in the comment and let me know how many years it's been since your last interview here, right? If you haven't gone for an interview for more than like a year or two, you may be rusty, right? So you're probably not sure how to sell yourself, how to tell your story. You may be lacking confidence there. You may not be as clear, right? It may be a bit blurry in terms of sharing your stories and examples. And so what we did here to prepare, right? I knew that we had to help my friend here to improve her confidence, to get really clear on her stories, and to really be able to structure her thoughts in a way that makes it easy for the interviewer to take notes as well. So what's great is that this person already really knew this role well and knew the industry well. She did tons of research already. And she knew people in this space who worked in that area, who worked in the team, who knew the hiring manager as well. So the first step was just researching, gathering intel and insights that gave her the confidence to be like, okay, I understand the landscape of things, even though she's been out of the workforce the last 2 years. Okay, to just showcasing that she's still up to date. That's key. Number two was really analyzing the job of why is this role open? What are the needs there? What's the current climate like? Right. And turns out that there's been high turnover on the team there. And this she has never actually been in a people manager role. So we knew she was going to get questions around leadership, people management. And so we had to really anticipate, how do we give the hiring manager the confidence that she could be a people manager at this time, even though she has not been a people manager role before there. So we really focus a lot on that there. And the third thing is we really focus on also is like what differentiates her, what she brings to the table. How can she really help this organization to essentially increase their philanthropy type of work as well there. So we really talked about ideas and vision of what will make her a great candidate. So at the end, she aced it, and I was super, super proud of her because I knew this was something was like, because for her, it's considered her dream job there. So really, really proud that she was able to ace this interview there. Okay. All right. So I see some of you here just typed in, have not interviewed for like 12 years, 2 years. Okay. This past month. Okay. 8 months. Okay. Awesome. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my friend Sonhal Bahl to this show here as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about networking there. So that feel free if you questions about networking and LinkedIn in the next 10 minutes or so, type that in as well. We're going to talk more about that there. Okay.
Hey there.
Hey, Sonhal, how are you?
I'm very well. Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And this was impromptu as well. I saw you live this morning and I'm like, do you want to come on here?
Yeah, and I had my, little like blazer jacket on, and you were like, this is more of a casual vibe. And I'm like, that's my vibe. So I found my grandpa sweater and I'm like ultra chill right now, total Friday vibes.
Yeah, love it, love it. So this is so good because we had some questions coming in around networking, and I think we should set some context of how you and I met. Like, this is why I love networking is I think, I don't know if you remember the story. I think how you reached out to me, I think at least a year ago, and I did not respond to you because you sent an invite and I just had so many invites that I couldn't get to. And how did you feel at that time when you first reached out to me?
I knew that you must have been bombarded because I saw you at a very public virtual event,
Hmm.
and um, so I've learned over time to not get too attached when someone doesn't respond. And then I sent, that was already a very specific invite. It was already like tailored to you, and then I did it again a few months later, and this time I think. You had less clutter in your inbox and you responded.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad you did. And I think this is my key message here is to follow up. Follow up, even if people don't respond. Don't let that one outreach deter you from not following up or feel like that the person
And
just doesn't want to talk to
exactly.
you.
Follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. And I think the key takeaway here for anyone who's been through this is like, this wasn't about me. This was about her. It wasn't, necessarily the right time, or there were too many invitations. And I know at some point you had like over 500 pending. So that's like, it's
Yeah.
everything to do with Diana. So it was like, she'll have her stuff figured out and then I'll try again. And if it doesn't matter. But that detachment, it takes practice.
It exactly. It takes practice. I think that is so key here is to not to be attached or take it personally at all there. And so that's such great advice. So we had a question here around networking is how to actively network on LinkedIn without letting your employer know if transitioning to another industry. So being basically want to be discreet about networking on LinkedIn.
Okay. Okay. First of all, your employer doesn't need to know anything because this is your personal thing. I mean, LinkedIn is your personal account. So you want to be obviously mindful of what your profile looks like. We'll start with that, and then the networking side of things. We would love networking, outreach, and all that. We'll come to that. But the inbound inquiries, if you want to make sure that you're attractive and you have this magnetic profile, it makes it easier to get the right opportunities towards you. So you want to
Yeah.
make sure your, things like your skills are up to date with what you're looking for, because those, they have code behind them. And I want to start with skills because there is code behind it. So they come up in
Yeah.
the search results. And your headline, right? So you optimize all of that. Diana talks about that all the time. I talk about that all the time. And Diana, you and I have YouTube channels. So take advantage of all the free resources all out there, and just make sure it's like SEO, search engine optimized. You want to make sure that your profile comes up in those search results. There's an expression, Diana, I'm sure you heard it. If you want to hide uh, if you want to hide a dead body, put it in the second page of Google. Nobody goes to the second page of Google. Similarly, when it comes to the search results, you've got to think of it as the Google of job, like, candidates, right? So recruiters are looking for someone like you. If you want to rank higher in the search results, these are a few things that can help you. Optimized headline, skills, the right skills. You've literally got them, and if possible, endorsed as well. And also, your about, your picture, all of that stuff. So if you, these are a few things you can do. Now, one which is tricky, and I want to, see how you can do that, is if you can follow some companies that you're interested in, that is also going to help you to rank higher in the search results. If I'm interested in Nike and I follow Nike, and the recruiter from Nike looks for someone and they find me, I am actually, there's research that proves that, and I've seen recruiters do live streams. I have recruiters here in Belgium, and they're like, actually, it shows up higher. So that is one way to attract. There are many more ways, but this is the quick answer: to attract. Now, as far as going out there and outbound inquiries and things like that, oof, you have to be very discreet in a way that is, it's true to you, right? There's advice out there, but at the end of the day, you got to be doing what feels right to you. My way that I prefer is, I like to follow a few people first. Yeah, kind of get to know each
Yeah.
other. I'm kind of looking at them. Hey, how's it going? So you're like following. Once in a while, you'll write a comment in something that really resonated with you, and that comment is meaty, but that comment is not, I need a job. Nothing like that, right? It's more sort of generic, and you're adding some value to that. You do that
Yeah.
over time, and then you reach out to them saying, I've been following you for a while, and Diana, I saw this post and it really resonated, and I'd love to connect. The chances of that person accepting the connection request is close to 100%, because you've become such a familiar face. This is such
Yes.
a simple strategy, the comment strategy.
Yeah.
And there are three types of comments. So, I don't want to get into that. If we have time, we'll go into that. But if you focus on that, just that alone, and you do it for 10 minutes a day or something like that, you're going to attract the right type of people towards your profile. And you're going to reach out to people who'll actually say, hey, this is such a pleasure to hear from you.
Yeah.
And it's not like, they accepted your connection request and you're like, yeah, awesome. Hey, listen, can you help me? I need a job. I need a favor. Please don't do that, because you would never do that in person with someone. So why would you do it differently it's not different online. People are people
Yeah.
everywhere. But this is a great way to start a relationship, because the word networking has such a icky feeling for a lot of us. So that's why I said, do things that feel true to you in your own way. And the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today, right? That's what they say in
Yeah.
China. So it's like, start this. Never too late. But don't only start when you need it. Dig
Exactly.
the well.
Yeah.
Dig the well
Yeah.
before you get thirsty.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna add on onto this, right? I think about, for me, networking is really about give, give, give before you get. And so, you talked about this commenting strategy. And one thing I think people have to get over with is that if you network on LinkedIn or you comment, that's going to give the employer the vibe that you're going to be leaving, right? I think these days there are so many people in corporate who are content creators. So one of the mindset or even strategies I would say is that putting on that hat is that really like becoming a content creator, meaning that you want to build your brand, put yourself out there, becoming a thought leader, and people are going to see that you are actually sharing. I've actually talked to some people who are coming into my show next month for the Amplifying Asian Voices series of how by being a content creator or sharing their voice is helping to raise their company's brand profile or helping them attract new leads or opportunities, new hires to the company as well. So that's another perspective, is shifting that mindset of, instead of thinking like, oh, people may think I'm looking for a job, is how I'm doing is actually to increase also my own personal brand, but also the company's brand as well there.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. I mean, content creation is something that is beautiful, and it's guaranteed to get the right eyeballs on you. For a lot of people who don't feel ready, start small, start with commenting, then look at engaging with the right people, and then content can be a tiny little post. It can be original, it can also be some article that you read somewhere that really was like, wow, it's on the ball. And then one day article, and then one day a video. But baby steps, because I know a lot, for a lot of people it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. So someone wrote like, well, what if your profile's in another industry, which is different to where you want to go? I mean, I would say goes back to tailoring. Is really going back to tailoring of where
Tailoring and
you want.
transferable skills. They are your
Yes.
best friends in the whole world. So you want to showcase a lot of those in your profile. And if you're going to just keep thinking, okay, this is a generic comment, not meant for anybody in particular. If you're going to think, oh my God, they're going to think I'm looking for a job, they will think that. But why would
Yeah.
they think? If someone, let's worst case scenario, will anybody confront you and say, hey, oh, I see that you spruced up your LinkedIn profile. Are you looking for a job? Yeah, why would you say that? You're not
Yeah.
lying. I mean, it's just your focus is very kind of clear and you're taking advantage of a free platform. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
You're
it's a
managing your
waste.
brand. You're managing your
It's
brand.
changing your brand, it's upgrading, up leveling. Why does it always have to mean like you're looking? Maybe you're not
Yeah.
actively, maybe you are, maybe you're not. None of anybody's business.
No, no. Honestly, right now, like I'm seeing, I mean, some of my clients who like are active content creators that they are actually putting what they do as content creators more as prominent up front than versus their own job. It doesn't mean that they're actually looking,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
that's a key there. Why don't we talk quickly some of like best advice in terms of networking, best advice and common mistakes. Let's start with the mistakes one. What are some of the common mistakes that you see?
Yeah. My favorite thing to talk about here, I want to get very specific because this is a mistake that I think, Diana, you'd agree 99% of everyone makes. And we've been there ourselves. And that is the first time you reach out to someone. Um, I'm particularly talking about LinkedIn, is the connection request. There's three types. Number one, number two, and number three. Please do number three. Don't do number one and two. What is number one? Number one is the lazy connection request. That's blank. And I'll explain. Number two, so there's three: lazy, lethargic, and lively. I did a post on it on LinkedIn because I was just like, I've talked about this so many times, dozens of times, but every time there's new people, right? And I think the message deserves to be
Yeah.
repeated. The lazy is a blank. I don't know who
Yeah.
you are from Adam. I'm in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to connect with you. The reason this is dangerous is when you reach out to people who have a larger, let's say, follower base, those people are going to be very picky about who they connect with because there's a limit in terms of connections. I don't know if people realize that there's 30,000. I'm not
Mhm.
saying everybody has
Yeah.
30,000 connections, but why give them a reason why they should connect with you? Because if you're looking for like a brag connect, I want to connect with this person because I get bragging rights, they don't want to connect with you, particularly if you are like no profile picture, nothing in your profile, you've never posted anything in your life. Just follow that person, don't waste your connection request. So that's the lazy. The lethargic one is copy paste. Sonal, I see that we are both in the HR space, let's connect. Sonal, I see we have three people in common. Let's connect. Again, listen, there's a
More
limit. There's a
generic.
limit to people
Yeah.
connecting. The lively one follows what I call my like connect request model. Uh, and you've given them why they should connect with you. Why do you want to connect with them? Like, and your friend here is specificity. Your enemy is ambiguity. So the
Mm.
more specific you are, Diana, I saw that you were live with Austin Belsack. He is one of my favorite people on LinkedIn. He was on my podcast, and I loved that second point that you talked at the 20-minute mark when you talked about personal branding and what a difference it's made to people's careers. I'd love to connect. What
Yeah.
what is Diana going to be
Specific.
like? Whoa, she's done her homework. She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
chances of Diana refusing are close to zero. So
Yeah.
please, please, please make specificity your best friend.
People will be impressed when you're specific. So I'll give you a good example. I love what you just shared here. I'm all about like really humanizing it. So recently, like, when I was on a podcast, like How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, I got tons of messages afterwards, people who listened to it. And I loved it when people talked about what they learned or something that resonated with them and that we're able to have like a quick conversation, but they weren't necessarily asking for my time to like hop on a call per se. I love that because it's really just humanizing the meeting there. Whereas the ones that I get, like I actually got one just today and it was just a completely different name, like, hi, Navid. I am so-and-so looking for a job. Can you help me out? And I actually wrote back, I think you got the wrong person. And the reply was, no, I got the right person. We just got the wrong name. I don't know what else to say. I'm not sure what else to say. Or those outreaches like, hi, can we talk? Or hi, can we get on a phone call? Those don't start a conversation. It doesn't start a conversation there. So I think the key is really humanizing it and going back to being specific. To me, what you just said here is also acknowledgement. Give a compliment, give an acknowledgement. People always appreciate that. And it shows that you are paying attention there.
And if the compliment is authentic, even better.
Exactly. So that the key in terms of networking, best advice. Anything else you want to wrap up here with, Sonal? Thank you so much for hopping on. And for those who don't know Sonal, I'm just going to put your name up here, career coach, top job search expert to follow on LinkedIn as well. Make sure to follow her YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. She has also a weekly live stream every Friday as well there.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Diana.
My pleasure. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye. This is so fun, a casual Q&A Friday where I can bring some of my friends on to have a quick Q&A discussion. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be wrapping up soon. Let me just check if there are any other questions here before I wrap up. Here, okay. You're welcome, Onika. You're welcome. Awesome. There was one question that was submitted I want to talk about. Actually, it was submitted also by my friend, Sarah Johnston. She asked me about my perspective on MBAs here. Let me just quickly find this question. Here, to go back. Oh, there you go. There was this question. So I love this question. She actually asked me last night when I posted about this, is that how do you think MBA students have changed over in the last decade? Because I used to work as a recruitment manager for MBA, executive MBA program back in 2009 to 2011. And then 10 years later, in 2019, I was also a career advisor for MBA students as well. So her question is like, how are you seeing MBAs differentiating themselves in the postgraduate school job market? This is such a great question. So a few things, like one thing that I noticed is when I recruited for MBA students back over a decade ago, and this was also the period that the launchpad before I started my business, is I noticed is that there were a lot of people who decided to invest in an MBA because either they want to change careers, or second, they didn't know what they want to do. So they wanted to invest in an MBA to figure out what to do there. And one of the things that I always talk about is that you don't need to get an MBA to figure out what you want to do. You can invest in a career coach or life coach to help you figure out what's next, because it's a big time commitment and a huge investment there. I would say, I feel like what I've seen just from my observation in the past decade is I definitely been seeing more people who have less experience going into an MBA program out there. And I feel like it's probably because people do it because they want to become more competitive candidate. Okay. And I think that's great. However, I always talk about how MBA is a great launch pad to pivot careers, change careers, doing something completely different. You also need to have a leverage in terms of the experience that you have. So you really need to ask yourself, like, do I have something strong in terms of foundation experience that I've gained at least 3 to 5 years or even 7 years or more to leverage that to pivot into something else? So from a differentiating standpoint, I would say this, I talk a lot about differentiating as top talent, because I do work with a lot of people who graduated from their MBA as well there, is that beyond just saying that you've done your MBA, that you learn more about business, you also need some sort of a niche area that you know about. So for example, it could be like MBA plus analytics. Like if you're really good with analysis, analytical work, get really, really good at that, as that's going to give you a competitive edge there. Okay. And so that's really key. I'll actually give you a recent quick story of a client of mine who actually just finished her MBA last year in 2021. And she pivoted from pharmaceutical manufacturing to telecommunications industry as a marketing specialist. And she totally aced her case interview. And I have to tell you, it was actually really hard to make that transition there. And one of the things that I did was actually, I did refer her to this opportunity. Referred her to my husband's team actually in the telco. And so that really opened doors because there was an endorsement as well. But one thing that we also really worked on to make her stand out as well was she totally aced her case interview. And it was like a real life case there. I don't remember exactly what the case was. I think it was like a Harvard case there, that she did a really amazing job on analyzing the case, creating the presentation, and deliver a solid presentation. So because of that, the employer was able to really see how she think, how she crafted a story, and how she showed up as well there. And so that's a huge differentiation and factor. And this is why when you are looking to pivot industries, and if you don't have, let's say, a lot of experience, or maybe you may not be seen as marketable, what else can you do to showcase your work, right? In terms of your problem solving skills, communication skills, presentation skills there, do that. And this is why I think even right now, like, to create more videos is a good idea, right? So that people can get an idea of who you are, like how you think, how you communicate, or writing articles on LinkedIn to showcase your thought process, your thought leadership as well. Those are all great things to ways to differentiate there. I had a client also last year who was finishing his MBA. He wanted to pivot from still be in digital marketing, but from the advertising agency industry to an industry, right? And essentially, he's considered a digital advertising expert there, like 10 plus years experience, also has people leadership experience there. And one thing that I really challenged him to do was to write 3 LinkedIn articles, because he didn't really have any LinkedIn presence at all. And I said, like, given the fact that you are a digital marketing expert, if you write that, it's going to really amplify. And little did he know, like, by actually just writing those 3 articles, it attracted him over a dozen interview opportunities. And that quickly led to multiple offers at the end there. And so this is why that it's so important when you're looking to make a pivot. You want to get creative and think about, from a branding standpoint, marketing standpoint, what can I do to increase the awareness, my marketability, and credibility there, right? And if you have people endorsing you, referring you, that's also going to increase the chances and odds of getting a foot in the door there. Okay. So I hope this was helpful of what we discussed today. Thank you so much for being here today. For those who just joined, I want to just let you know that next month, I'm going to be hosting an Amplify Asian Voices series. And I just want to give a little preview here that I'm super excited. It's going to be on May 12th and May 19th from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be having 10 fireside chats, so 5 each time. And I will be having a variety of speakers coming from industries. We have like an SVP of like revenue, chief HR officer who's coming on board, head of Google Canada of global marketing at Google is coming, a variety of speakers, entrepreneurs as well. So it's going to be a great show. I will start promoting next week, and I hope to see many of you there, because this is something I really want to do with the Asian Heritage Month in May. What I'm going to be doing is, in this show, is around 25-minute chat for each person, where we'll talk about their cultural upbringing and the impact it has on them, good or bad, a bit about their career journey, what are the lessons learned and best advice, and then we're going to talk a bit about topic of interest there. So we're going to cover topics around finding your purpose, about pivoting your career to entrepreneurship, mental health, speaking up, confidence, all those topics, leadership, empathy. We're going to be covering all those topics there. So I really hope to see many of you. Feel free to help me spread the word as well. Really want to raise the awareness of this there. Okay. Amazing. Great to hear it. In terms of super excited here. You're welcome. Great to see you, Andrea. Long time no see here. Glad this was a great session. This is different from my typical one. I usually like to do more like formal training sessions or where I interview people, but I thought today we just want to have like a quick casual session as well, so that I could connect with many of you as well that I haven't had a chance to see or connect with in some time there. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in another couple of weeks. All right. Cheers.